Most people think money changes their lifestyle when they get rich, but that's not true. The biggest change doesn't happen at $100,000. It doesn't even happen at $50,000. It happens way earlier, around your first $5,000 saved. And what changes isn't your lifestyle, it's your brain. Let me explain the point. Money feels loud. Every expense makes noise in your head. Quick thing before I continue. My name is Alex. I'm not a financial advisor. This is an educational and entertainment based on research and real-life experience. A small bill comes up and your chest tightens. Your phone battery dies and you're already calculating how much the replacement will cost. Even when nothing is wrong, your mind is waiting for something to go wrong. You're not thinking long-term. You're thinking of survival. At this stage, money decisions are emotional. Not because you're bad with money, but because your nervous system is on edge. You might track your spending. You might budget wisely. You might even save a little. But deep down, your brain doesn't believe you're safe yet, so every dollar feels fragile to you, like it could disappear at any moment. That's why people at this stage either over-control their money or give up and say, what's the point? Both come from the same place, fear. Now here's where $5,000 changes everything. Not because it's a lot of money, but because it creates distance between you and disaster. For the first time, an unexpected expense doesn't feel like a threat. It feels like a problem you can handle. Your car needs repairs? Annoying, but not panic-inducing. A slow month? Stressful, but not catastrophic. And your brain notices that. Something subtle happens. You stop checking your bank account every 5 minutes. You stop doing mental math at the grocery store. You stop repeating financial mistakes from the past. Your thoughts slow down. And when your thoughts slow down, your decisions get better. This is the part nobody talks about. Saving money doesn't just give you options. It gives your brain permission to think clearly. Before $5,000, every decision is loaded. Can I afford this? What if something happens? What if I mess this up? After $5,000, the question changes. It becomes, is this worth it? That's a completely different mindset. You move from fear-based decisions to value-based decisions. And that shift is powerful because now you're not reacting, you're choosing. This is why people say things like, once I saved some money, everything felt lighter. They're not being dramatic. Their brain finally stopped living in emergency mode. But here's the part that trips people up. Getting to the first $5,000 is hard. Not because of math, but because of psychology. At the beginning, saving feels pointless. You save $200, something happens, and it vanishes. You save $500, then it also disappears. It feels like the money never sticks, so your brain learns a dangerous lesson. Saving doesn't work, and once your brain believes that, it stops trying. That's why the first $5,000 isn't just a financial milestone, it's a trust milestone. It's the moment your brain starts trusting the process. You start to believe, maybe this time is different, and when you believe that, your behavior changes. You protect your savings more carefully. You think twice before draining it. You stop treating it like extra spending money, not because someone told you to, but because your brain finally sees its value. And this is important. The first $5,000 isn't meant to make you rich. It's meant to make you calm, buy you space and breathing room. And once you have breathing room, growth becomes possible because you can't build a future when your mind is distracted and confused. Most people try to skip this stage. They jump straight to investing. They chase big goals. They compare themselves to people 10 steps ahead of them. But none of that works if your foundation is unsteady. The first $5,000 is the foundation. It's the line between money controls me and I have some control over money. And once you cross that line, even slightly, you start seeing money differently. You stop asking, how do I get more? And start asking, how do I keep this working for me? That question alone changes everything. Once you start thinking that way, money stops feeling like a mystery. Before, it felt random, like no matter how hard you tried, it slipped through your fingers. But now, patterns start to show up. You notice how long money actually lasts when you don't touch your savings. You notice which expenses create relief and which ones create regret. You notice that peace feels better than impulse. And slowly, without forcing it, your behavior changes. Not because you became more disciplined, but because your brain finally feels safe enough to cooperate. This is why advice sounds different depending on where you are. When someone with savings says, just don't stress about it, they're not lying. They're speaking from a calm nervous system. But when you're below that safety line, stress is automatic. Your body is just trying to protect you. That's why comparing yourself to people ahead of you is dangerous, because they're playing a different game. They're not deciding between groceries and gas. They're deciding between good and better. You're still deciding between now and later. And that's okay. That's why the first goal shouldn't be freedom, wealth, or passive income. The first goal is stability, because stability changes how you feel, sleep, or react. It changes how you feel about yourself. Before, every mistake feels like proof that you're failing. And here's something most people don't realize. Once you hit that first $5,000, your savings stops feeling like money you own and starts feeling like something you protect. You don't want to touch it. Not because you're scared, but because you finally understand what it gives you. Time, options, silence in your head. And the more you protect it, the more it grows. Not just the number, but your confidence. You start trusting yourself with money, and that trust is worth more than the cash itself. This is where people say, I don't know why, but I feel different. They walk differently. They choose differently. They think differently. Not because they're smarter, but because they're not desperate anymore. Desperation is loud. Calm is quiet, and quiet lets you hear the right decisions.
This is also why people lose progress when they drain their savings completely. It's not just the money they lose the calm, they lose the buffer, they lose the mental space, and suddenly they're back in survival mode, even if their income hasn't changed. That's why rebuilding feels harder than starting. Your brain remembers what safety felt like, so if you're below that line right now, don't shame yourself. You're not behind. You're building the hardest part, the part that doesn't look impressive, the part that doesn't get likes, the part that no one claps for. But it's the part that changes everything later. Because once your brain learns what stability feels like, it doesn't forget. And even if you fall back, you know the path forward again. That knowledge alone makes you stronger than before. So when you hear people talk about the first milestone, understand this. It's not about the number. It's about teaching your brain that you can survive without panic. And once your brain learns that, your relationship with money is never the same.
And this is the part I really want you to hear. If you're not there yet, $5,000 feels far away, that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're still in the phase where effort feels invisible. That phase is brutal. You're doing the right things, but life keeps testing you. Something always comes up. Something always pulls you back. And it can make you wonder if this will ever actually work. Of course it will, but not all at once. What matters most in this phase isn't how fast you save. It's that you don't give up on the idea of safety. Even $500 is your brain learning a new story. Even $1,000 is proof that money doesn't have to disappear immediately. Each step is teaching your nervous system something new. You're rewiring years of stress, years of scarcity thinking.
Years of reacting instead of choosing. That takes time. And once you finally cross that line, and when you look at your savings and realize you could handle a problem without panic, you'll understand why people say this was the moment everything changed. Not because life became easy, but because life became manageable. Money stops feeling like a constant threat. It becomes a tool instead of a source of fear. And from there, growth actually sticks, because now you're building on calm, not chaos. So don't rush past this stage. Don't underestimate it, and don't compare it to someone else's high stage. This first cushion isn't about being impressive. It's about being stable enough to think clearly. And once you can think clearly, you make better choices. And better choices compound, quietly, steadily, for a long time. That's how real financial change starts. Not with a big win, not with a lucky break, but with the moment your brain finally believes, I'm okay. And from that moment on, everything grows differently.
Your life becomes better than before. If this video helped you, like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.